Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast with Sam Kamani. Sam is an investor, he's a co-founder at Autowell. He's a Web3 podcast host and a best-selling author. He's in New Zealand, so quite the uncommon guy that I met, I'd say like a couple of weeks ago, and was quite interested to get to talk to him because of his podcaster background, Web3 background. Usually, podcast hosts that I get on this podcast make pretty good guests as well. So, Sam, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you, Charles. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and talk with you. I really enjoyed our last conversation. Should I start from a bit about my background and what I've been doing? Or yep,
Yeah.
so sure. So started as a software developer, built my first startup in e-commerce back in 2007 when e-commerce was not really a thing back then, 16, 17 years ago. Had an exit in 2015, then built a startup in esports. With that, I was based out of San Francisco or Bay Area for a short time. Then that got acquired in 2018. It was a platform to run tournaments for esports. And then wrote a book describing my experience, my all my learnings of the last 10 years on how I grew the startups, how I built the startups, how I exited them, as well as any growth hacks, MVP, how to get product market fit, those type of things. Wrote a book just to share my experiences. Did not expect it to do or anyone to ever read it, didn't share about it. However, it just organically went viral, became an Amazon bestseller in its category at that time for a few months. And then I started speaking at events. I got started invited to things like TED Talk and all sorts of things. And that's when COVID hit. And I was like, okay, if I can't go to events, what's the next best thing? And the next best thing is what we are doing right now. And that is going on podcast as a guest. So I did that. And the first podcast I was a guest at, as they said that, hey, you seem to love talking and sharing, then why don't you start your own podcast? I was like, okay, cool, that's great. So next day I had my own podcast, and then I've been doing that for last 5 years. I've done some angel investing, so invested in few different startups. Autowell was one of that, and yeah, then I help my startups with growth or whatever they need, connect them to anyone in my network. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Still very bullish about Web3, blockchain, AI, crypto, all those sort of things, and have interviewed 350 plus founders just in Web3, crypto, blockchain, and AI. And yeah, interview them, learn from them, and share about their stories, just like what you do, Charles.
Right. First question I have for you: how did you go from employee to entrepreneur? What was that shift that occurred in your mind for you to engage into entrepreneurship and ultimately get wealthy?
Um, Very interesting question. It's like I don't mind being an employee because I do want to be in a team and grow and contribute and bring value to my employer. And whenever I did that, I ended up getting a stake in the company, and that's how it all started. So I joined the first company at a very, very, very early small stage, and I contributed so much that I ended up owning 40% of that first startup very quickly, and becoming like a co-founder and completely changing the whole distribution model, the type of products, the branding, everything that the company had, and grew it like 700-800% in the few years, and took it to an exit. So that's been sort of my playbook: join a company at a very early stage, contribute immensely to their growth, that you become indispensable and you end up getting a stake. So this is how you start and build something, or get started going from employee to employer without needing your own capital.
Right. And how did you get into Web3? Because back then, I remember hearing about Bitcoin. I was in Hong Kong back then. I was a student, an exchange student. I was starting my first ventures, and I didn't have the capital to invest in Bitcoin. I would have probably invested for sure back then because it was so cheap. It was like $100 per Bitcoin. So I literally skipped that opportunity. I had a good friend of mine that was so deep in the BTC ecosystem back then in Hong Kong, and
Yes.
to this day he's probably quite rich. Uh, why did I miss that out? Is it just purely a budget thing? Is it because I don't know, I was broke back then? And what did you identify on your side that got you involved in that ecosystem?
Definitely. So, I actually didn't invest myself either. I missed it in a way as well. So, I've known about Bitcoin since 2012. I was trying to mine Bitcoin in my laptop in 2012, and it was already so complicated. You had to be like a big sort of a Chinese data center in a way back then. That's where all the mining was done of Bitcoin up to 2018, 19, something like that. Um, because energy was there cheap, and it was already a very, you had to be a professional outfit and you needed really good gear, so you couldn't do it on your laptop. And I was like, I was a skeptic. I was like, okay, I cannot see my mom and dad ever going to this effort and trying to mine a currency and then go and spend it where the rates are fluctuating all the time. I did not see it happening. So I was a skeptic. And however, in 2015, when Ethereum came around, and it added more functionality such as smart contracts, so that means money became programmable. And every time there is a fundamental shift in how money is used, or the utility money can have, the whole global economy expands on the basis of that. So for example, we used to use credit system, and then started using some form of a barter, then we started using some form of coins. This is thousands of years ago, some form of coins issued by the government, and then it went from coins to paper currency. And every time that happens, the velocity of how much the money moves inside the economy changes, and then went from that to digital. What we all have is digital. It's like no one gets paid their monthly salary in physical cash in hand. For most people, 99% or even more, you get in a bank, and that money doesn't really exist. It only exists in a database. The only difference that blockchain does is it decentralizes it, so that it's not inside a bank's database. It's a database that is spread around the world, as well as, so not one person can change it unless there is enough consensus. And it adds programmability to it, like with smart contracts, that okay, if this happens, then do this. So it completely unleashes money to a whole new way of doing things. And I was like, okay, this could change everything. And it is already has started changing everything. It is already starting with stable coins and things like that, make the underlying layer that even banks and sovereign governments use across the world now.
Oh, I'm muted.
Sorry.
Sorry. What have
Yes.
been some of your big financial home runs, and how do you explain each if I would try to reproduce them?
Sorry, I missed a few words in that.
What have been your your big financial home runs so far, and how did these happen? If you would give a playbook for someone like me that would try to reproduce them.
Absolutely, I can do that very easily. And the number one thing that you can replicate at any stage and for anyone in the world, and that is invest in yourself, because that is not going to go anywhere. That cannot be text. That cannot be taken away. You cannot lose a key phrase to that, or you cannot be deplatformed. So in a way, invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge, and that's what I did. I mean, maybe I should have invested in some other cryptocurrencies and stuff, but it's very hard to know at that time exactly what is going to become the Bitcoin we know, and not the other millions of other coins that exist that went nowhere. So that's very hard. However, I invested in myself. I invested in my ability to write, to communicate, to um, to learn about how things are done, to work with founders, to invest, to all sorts of other abilities that now I'm able to capitalize on that, whether it's through my podcast, through my other investment vehicles, for the other things. So for every person, this would be very individually different to what they can invest in. But if they invest in on themselves, and that could be in terms of health, it could be in terms of education, anything, that never fails to reap benefits in future.
Interesting. Tell me about the folks you interviewed so far. I saw Vitali. I saw like other legends. What did you learn from them? And did you have to change some of your interviewing style in between, like some guests like that are that smart and that advanced?
That's a very interesting question. It's like I try and um, just be myself, that is naturally curious, just like you. And that is, I like to have an organic conversation. So I just come up with the questions that I want answered, and think that, okay, other people might want to learn that as well. So I just go with that, and I just go with the flow. And then I like asking follow-up questions, because I often discover um, things that I have not known, and then I try and dig more into it so I can learn something new. So that's pretty much what I follow.
He's probably one of the greatest mind on this planet. Like, what did you learn from this guy, and what other legends did you interviewed, and what did you learn from them?
Definitely. So I have interviewed multiple founders that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and I have interviewed multiple people who are worth in billions, or who have built unicorns, or who were at one point even making over $1 billion in profit, not just revenue, in profit a year. So it has been very, very interesting. Like one thing that I will combine everything, because we don't have the time to go through every single person and what I learned from it, but I'll combine the learnings. One thing that they all have in common is that they move with urgency, and then they move with speed. They don't let overthinking block. It's like their default process of thinking is that, okay, what will help me learn faster? So it's okay if I make a mistake this way, or if I don't get it right. So that is like the number one thing I would say. It is quite common, is that they move really, really fast.
Interesting. And with Autowell, what are you trying to build right now? I think I worked with one of your competitor, Kemet Trading, and I believe they're based in New York. What are you trying to build there? Why are you so bullish on building an infrastructure for crypto hedge funds?
Yes. So there are about tens of thousands of hedge funds out there in the world, and less than 10% currently have diversified into digital assets, whether it be Bitcoin, Ethereum, could be any digital asset. And as time goes, more and more would want to diversify, and they have the old school architecture set up for stocks and bonds and other assets and commodities and other things. However, they do not have an infrastructure set up for things such as crypto or digital assets and all these new things coming up. So they will need that infrastructure in order to continue to diversify, because it's now their LPs or their limited partners in those who have invested in those funds are asking them for that diversification. So they will have to do that because of market pressure, and hence there will be a lot of need. And I do think that market is big enough, and our revenue per client is also high enough, that there is a space for multiple companies to exist in this space. There won't be just one. And every fund, whether it's a liquid fund, crypto fund, hedge fund, they family office, they all have such different requirements, that there will be space for lots of niche startups to come up in this space.
And tell me about the fees, right? Like, what do you charge these funds? How do you get in touch with them? Tell me about
So
the full GTM, the pricing, and how you distinguish yourself from
absolutely,
competitors.
absolutely. Yeah, we are actually currently going through a rebranding phase. So it will be, we are working out a new name and a fresh look for the whole, in the form of design and everything. Or there would be a new name for one of our sub product, and the product that we are quite bullish about, that is not here as much right now, and that is our portfolio management system. Because most of the funds are super diversified, like they invest in dexes or centralized exchanges on different, they have different wallets, they have different staking positions in different platforms, and currently most of them use spreadsheets. So we want to solve that problem, and this is how it started. We were first making a platform or an infrastructure to run strategies, and that's when we found out that every fund that we would talk with, they would ask us for this type of a portfolio management system that would integrate everything. And we are like, okay, let's give them a very basic integrated portfolio management system for free to get started with, up to with a very free generous tier. And then once we prove ourselves, once they're happy with our product, then get them onboarded with trading and other things. So yeah, it's a very, very simple go to market freemium style model. Our portfolio management system is currently in beta. We expect in the next couple of months or so, as our first few clients test it, and they're happy with it, we will allow other people to enroll as well. And that's when we will launch it with a slightly different name and different branding and things like that. So this is the website is now over a year old, and our product has matured and added quite a few other things in the meantime. So it currently doesn't reflect everything as it should.
Got it. And tell me about the GTM aspect. Like, do you invest in ads? Is it SEO? Is it your personal network, LinkedIn outreach, cold email? What do you prioritize?
Absolutely. So even before I joined Autowell, I had an extensive network of personal connections in funds and family offices, with especially with because of my podcast and because of everything that I've done over the last 10 years. That I use my personal network. The second thing we use is events. So we host our own events. Like in Dubai, a few months ago, we hosted an event where we rented out a yacht and took out all our investors as well as potential funds on a sunset cruise and things like that. Last month we hosted an event in an extremely nice, like a Michelin star rated restaurant in Singapore. We invited 90 funds. One of our investors had sponsored that very kindly, who's super bullish on what we are building. So we do that, and because for us, we are not a retail platform, we are an institutional platform, and each client is worth a lot of money for us. So we just need few clients, and we need to collect and build momentum based on that. So yeah, that's what we do. It's a very, very different type of a marketing, one-on-one, human to human, and that's why I still do go to a lot of events around the world.
There you go. Why are you bullish on your co-founder, Thomas? Why are you guys a solid team?
That's a very good question. He has been, this is what he knows, this is what he studied, this is the industry he knows in and out, and this is what he initially built the first version of the platform all by himself. Of course, now we have a team and developers, and he's not doing as much hands-on, but he has the ability to build on the technical side, and I can bring in the connection side. So hence, yeah. But this is Autowell is one of my initial investment that I got involved more on the go-to-market products and marketing side, whereas I have few other investments in different startups where I do advise them on growth as well from time to time.
And why do you believe this could become a billion-dollar company?
Just because we have like our LTV per client is over $500,000, and we already have 50 plus clients waiting in our backlog, waiting to onboard. So it's just on how fast we can develop the product. And that is just the initial revenue. There are lots of ways where we can keep increasing the revenue we take by having different models and by providing and bringing different value to our clients.
You believe, what are your wild crypto predictions? You believe it will replace fiat? We've seen US invest in it as a reserve currency, which is quite amazing. Like, what's going to happen the next couple of decades?
So there's currently about 11 or so countries investing in crypto as a diversifying their sovereign funds. And these countries are all around the world. These are 11 that are publicly, but there are a lot more that have already started investigating on how they can invest, whereas pretty much nearly every major fund around the world is looking to diversify in it. Crypto will not make, I think, more than the retail, it will make the underlying layer, and it will be abstracted away. So you wouldn't know, just like you don't care on what database you use, whether you use relational data, RDBMS or DBMS or SQL, or it doesn't matter. So data, like blockchain, is just a type of a database, and it would be used more and more over time as an underlying architecture for banks and governments and new types of currencies and stuff. But most people to them it wouldn't matter. Like, I don't see as bright a future for retail. I see a very bright future for the institutional side of things. And as well as the second thing I do see a bright future for is the standard for agents. So AI agents to talk with AI agents. Like, an AI agent cannot open a bank account, but it can easily open a DeFi digital wallet, like, MetaMask or something. So it could easily do that, and agents can then pay agents, and as well as get things done or get paid as well. So I mean, we are still a few years away, probably 2-3 years away from that, but it's so hard to tell. Things move so fast, and sometimes new things come and replace those, so they never come to fruition. So it's really hard to predict future. I don't have a crystal ball, but this is what I see currently.
And are you more excited about agents and AI than you are about crypto?
um I'm not really sure, because there is so much cross section of both of them, of both of these technologies, how they interact with each other. I am super thankful to LLMs and what they are doing, and how fast that tech is also improving and increasing. So I do see that LLMs and a lot of the AI to be more based on retail. Like, a lot more it will have interaction with retail, whereas the crypto and blockchain and all this will go more on the institutional, enterprise, government side of things. So this is how I see the whole ecosystem.
Got it. Last question, should every founder have their podcast?
um if not having a podcast, they should at least go on other amazing podcasts like yours and talk about what they're building, what they're bullish about, so they can get the word out. Because now building a product is easier, however getting distribution is even harder. So distribution is the name of the game that every founder should listen and should focus on.
There you go. Where can people find out more about you, Sam?
So they can go to samkamani.com or web3pod.xyz, or just search my name, Sam Kamani, and lots of things will come up, I'm sure. So yeah, or LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn, connect with me, reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer or connect with people.
That was Sam and Charles for another CEO Wisdom